everyone. It's been a minute since I've been on this Facebook page, and well, you can tell by all these gray hairs, I'm an older, wiser version of myself in those earlier videos. But I also want to say this: don't discount the fact that this face is older with the information that I presented the younger me, because that is very, very much valid and true and always will be. So please go back and give a listen if you're interested in essential oils, how they work with your body. I would specifically point you to the videos about essential oils versus pharmaceuticals. I believe it's a 3-part series, and I think it really succinctly and clearly breaks down how the two different things work in our body in different ways. I can help you understand why I'm so passionate about natural health and using products that work with our body. And a lot has happened between the last video that I posted, which is probably in 2017, 2018, and now here we are, 2025. And I will get into that story at some point in the future. It's too much to dive into for this video. I just wanted to share with you why I am no longer selling essential oils. Now, I know that sounds like clickbait, and to some extent, maybe it is. Of course, if you are really into Young Living and you want to sign up and you don't have somebody to sign up under, I will be more than happy to join you to my team and be in communication with you and help you learn about natural health and wellness. It's my passion. It's what I do. But I am not actively out there trying to recruit and grow a business team. And I want to give you a little picture of what that looked like for me and kind of the aftermath of that and where the Lord has led me to this day. So back in, it was been over a decade when I was first introduced to essential oils, it blew my mind. And the story is basically, I had debilitating back pain. And I mean, I had the back of like a 70-year-old woman, and I was taking way too much ibuprofen and NSAIDs and things to get me through the day while I was homeschooling my kids and trying to just function. The Lord sent some really great people alongside me who also helped me adjust my diet. I had no idea there was such a thing as inflammatory foods or non-inflammatory foods. And so I did some of those adjustments, which helped hugely. But what really happened is when essential oils came into my life, I very quickly discovered that this little bottle of wintergreen and, helichrysum and a couple of other things were as effective in helping my mobility as all the bottles of things that I was taking that came off the shelf at the pharmacy. I mean, it blew my mind. How is this possible that a distilled plant material could do what chemistry, and modern science was doing? And so, of course, my brain has to know why. It's not enough to know that it works. It has to know, why does it work? And I got everything I could get my hands on. I was reading and devouring and devouring. I read a book on the chemistry of essential oils that's probably this thick. I was reading books on the healing oils of the Bible. I was reading books on the evolution of oils, even though I don't believe in evolution. There was just I just read and read and read and read. And I remember at one point reading a book about the oils in the Bible. And whenever God talks to me, it's different for every person. My experience is that it's like he puts a finger on my chest and I just feel it right here, and he's like, pay attention. And he's done this several times, and it's like it just comes out of nowhere, and I just know that he's saying pay attention. And what he said to me when I was reading this book was, finger on the chest, this is for you. And by this I knew he was talking about essential oils. And I just felt my heart racing, and I knew the Spirit was speaking to me and telling me to go shout it from the mountaintops. And I wanted to anyways, and I was just wowed and mesmerized and just enamored by God's creation and that he could do these things, that the plants had the medicine. Of course, 15 years later, it's of course, plants have medicine. Duh. But I didn't understand that at the time. It had never been introduced to me. So I remember crashing out my front door and telling everyone I could think about, have you ever smelled these oils? You got to try these. They're amazing. They're amazing. And all of a sudden, people started signing up. And my neighbor over here, my friend over there, and this person and that person, and all these people started signing up for essential oils because I was so passionate about them, and I had such incredible personal experience that it was just undeniable, my enthusiasm, and so a lot of people signed up. Well, what happens in a multi-level marketing, which you may or may not be familiar with, is when you start enrolling people, all of a sudden, you get pinged, and the people who are in the structure above you who you are enrolled other, they start to notice you and they start to reach out to you and they're like, hey, look at that one down there. She's really a shining star. And I'm not going to lie, the attention's amazing. You get all of a sudden asked to all these phone calls and you get asked to these, classes and special VIP teachings. You get a seat at the table. Literally, I went to the convention and got like the first chair, at some of these, important people in the company. It was incredible. And it's a little bit addicting because you're like, wow, I'm like doing something amazing and somebody sees me. And so it kind of feels that. Of course, their interest in you is driven by the fact that you are growing their business. The more I grew my business, the more they grew theirs. And so of course they're going to pour all this interest and love and attention into me. And the second piece that I didn't understand at the time, but I understand now, there's an entire industry built on naivete of sales, especially in multi-level marketing. And so you're getting all these invitations and you're getting all this love and attention and accolades from all of these people above you. And then you're getting invited to classes, and then they're inviting you to challenges, and they're inviting you to things that you have to pay. You have to pay to be part of it because you got to have some skin in the game. And you're going to sign up for this class and this class, and you're going to learn this and all with the promise that they're going to turn you into like this amazing salesperson because you're gifted and you show promise. And so I did everything, guys. I did Facebook Live, Instagram, I built web pages, I wrote blogs, I was doing this YouTube channel, I was going out and everywhere that I could, I was trying to spread the word about essential oils. And it got me nowhere. Like nowhere. It got me no people. Nobody was showing up. I would go do a Facebook Live and I would spend hours and hours and hours preparing this content, like the stuff I put on these videos, and nobody would show up to the Facebook Live. So I would feel foolish and silly, but I would just sit there and talk to the camera like I am right now, only there was nobody on the other end. And the people who did stick around would laugh and ridicule and mock me. They tell you to go out and get your friends and your family and get all these people on board. Those people want nothing to do with what you're selling. I was preaching it from the mountaintops and nobody was interested because I'll tell you the honest truth. Prior to COVID, there was no sense of urgency about natural medicine. COVID was a big shining spotlight on the pharmaceutical industry, on maybe we should be questioning some of these things that we're putting into our body. Maybe there's alternative health practices that we can be doing to kind of treat this and that. And so the time is really now for me to be educating people. But I was premature to the game and nobody was interested. They wanted their Diet Coke and their Cheetos, and they didn't want anybody to tell them how to eat. They didn't want anyone to tell them that their Windex was bad for them. They certainly didn't want anybody in a multi-level marketing to try to sell them anything that was good for them. It was absolute no, 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 no. And what I learned after spending, a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money on all of these challenges and classes and all these things that I went to, like I'm embarrassed to admit how much time and effort I put into these things, was that God did not make me a salesperson. It didn't matter how many classes that I took. Because for me, it's not about the art of closing the deal. Like sales is about getting in there and just hooking a person and closing the deal and moving on and get the next person. And sure, you need to provide some level of education. But at that point, that person's in, they're going to have to hand it off. They have to figure it out for themselves because you got to get to the next person and sign them up. You have to be perpetually growing in order to succeed in this field. I thought that I would go out there, I had this brilliant idea that I would just go out and I would teach and teach and teach and teach and teach. And I would educate. And then boom, sales would come because people loved my information. And that's not how this works. They give you the whole sales pitch of like, oh, you're going to make all this money and you make this and that. And like the reality is, guys, like you make like 35 cents on a bottle. Like the money does not come in the beginning. Not for a very, very, very long time, if ever, almost never. That's just not how this works. So sales is like quick close and ditch. Education is a much higher calling. And I realize in this process, that's who I am. I'm an educator. And it's funny because I actually had somebody in my upline when I started making these YouTube videos question me about it and say, why are you giving away your education for free? You need to hold that under lock and key and make somebody sign up and then you educate them. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. No. Like if people want to sign up under me, great. But like what I love is the educating, and whether they sign up or not is irrelevant. See the difference? And nobody really did. I don't think on my YouTube channel I've had maybe one extra person sign up under me. The truth is they signed up under somebody else who gave them a quick sales pitch, and then they didn't know what to do with their essential oils. So they go on the internet searching, and they found me. Awesome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I love doing this, and I don't care if you buy a single thing from me because it's not about the dollars. So that is why I quit essential oils. And I just want to get into the second piece of it. We're already at 10 minutes. I'm sorry. Bear with me. But I realized that like education is way the higher calling. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes humility, because what I'm trying to educate people, especially in the natural health space, you're trying to shift a person's entire paradigm of living. And like I said, prior to COVID, it was like, give me the Diet Coke and the Cheetos and just, I don't want to hear anything about it. And there's been a sizable shift in the marketplace. People are paying attention. They're interested in natural modalities. And so I love that. And that is where I've been for the last, 10 years since getting out of essential oils. Until now, I've gone down the rabbit holes of all kinds of different therapies, from energy and frequency to light therapy to, magnets and biofeedback to obviously nutrition being a huge piece of it. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there that I cannot wait to tell you guys about. And I feel like the time is now. And I know there's a lot of people out there in the health and wellness space. I can only offer you what I've learned in my journey. But getting back to the essential oils, I knew exactly why I was quitting. It was very clear, but it didn't stop me from spiraling into this like complete self-doubt, self-pity, a depression, really, because I felt like such a failure. I have never tried so hard at anything in my entire life and failed so miserably. I mean, embarrassing in front of people, just completely, totally bombed it. And even sometimes when you know the truth, when I knew that it wasn't for me, I knew that God didn't make me a salesperson, I knew that he had put me in a wilderness season, which I can talk about at another time, it doesn't always stop the doubt from creeping in. And man, when it came in, it was like big and it was ugly. And my sense of self-worth was like this big, and which taught me to go after emotional healing training, aromatherapy, like all of these other things, which were so empowering, and that I now have as tools in my tool belt to bring to you guys. But the thing that God brought to my mind is this idea of Moses, right? When he rose up in Egypt and he wanted to free the Hebrews, because if you remember the story, right, he was the baby in the basket and he was hidden in the bulrushes, and then Pharaoh's daughter found him and took him and raised him in the Egyptian palace. But he was a Hebrew. And when he realized he was a Hebrew and he saw that the Hebrew people were enslaved and those were his people, if you recall, his immediate instinct when he got old enough and realized the injustices being served upon his people was to go out, and he struck an Egyptian in the field and struck him dead. And everybody freaked out because they were like, now they're going to crack down even harder on the slaves because you just killed one of the slave masters. And Moses fled into the wilderness, and he was there for 40 years. That's a long time. And during that time, God was working on him, and he was growing him in wisdom and stature and all of these different things, because his time to lead his people in Exodus was not yet. There was a time of preparation, just like in King David. There was a time of preparation when David had to flee from Saul and he had to be in the wilderness. He was hiding in caves. And yet people started coming and gathering around him because he was a good man and God had anointed him, but it wasn't his time yet to go back and take the throne. And now I'm not trying to align myself with David or Moses. Far be it for me to put myself in their camp. But I'm drawing on those stories to say, there is a time and a place for certain things. And I think my time of educating with essential oils, it just was not yet. And it certainly was not my time for trying to grow a business. And the intent to grow a business was the wrong intention. And it was never my passion anyways. My passion was about the oils themselves and about teaching. And now that's grown into like so many other things that I cannot wait to talk about it. And I feel like for whatever reason, my life has been in a whole series of upheaval. We've lived here and there and everywhere and done a lot of really cool things. And now it's kind of settled back down again. And the Lord has graciously and lovingly placed me in this wellness space. And I didn't ask him for it, and I didn't seek it. And I certainly wasn't going out there trying to cultivate it for myself or please anybody above me who was saying, jump higher, run faster, all those different things. This just is just the natural course of events. by walking with God and trusting Him to lead me down these various different rabbit holes that I didn't even think were interconnected, turns out that they are. So all of that to say, I am no longer actively selling essential oils. I am not pounding the pavement for Young Living. I love them, I use them, and sure, you can sign up under me. But I want to steer this channel of education. It's just been impressed upon my heart that I need to stand back up again and be a voice for all these different alternate therapies, because God made them, and He made them for His glory, and He made them for our healing. And just like I've always said with essential oils, I want to reclaim them for His kingdom. That's a huge, important value to me. So that's the message I have for today, explaining where I've been for the last, 8 years. There have been a lot of really amazing things that have happened in my life. Way too many to list in this video. Thanks for hanging with me. We'll talk with you later.